If the president chooses to run again in 2024, I mean, first of all, I'm focused on winning this majority right now and preserving a majority this year in 2022. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Credit to Dana Bash. She tried a couple times there. Far-left Congresswoman, AOC, refusing to commit to supporting President Biden's re-election. Today's New York Post. Say it ain't Joe. Dem doubts mounting on Biden 2024 re-election run. Marc Thiessen, former Bush speechwriter, Fox News contributor. Harold Ford Jr., former congressman, Tennessee, co-host of The Five. Gentlemen, great panel. Great to have you both on board today, and good morning.
Good to be with you.
So, Mark, I guess it would be no surprise to you that she has withheld her support thus far, and likely all.
No, not at all. And that Democrats are saying, not just progressives like Ocasio-Cortez, a lot of Democrats are saying that Joe Biden is an anchor around the Democratic Party that has to get cut off, and there's a good reason for that. He literally the least popular president in the history of polling. No American president from Truman to Trump has been more unpopular at the 500-day mark of their presidency than Joe Biden. He's at 33% in the Quinnipiac poll, 25% among independents. And the problem is the Democrats don't seem to know why that is. They think it's because, according to the New York Times article this weekend, that it's because he failed to pass these big ticket items. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that his failure to govern as a Harold Ford moderate. It's his failure to compromise, reach across the aisle, try to get things done with Republicans. He's gone so far to the left that it's not what the American people voted for.
Yeah. Harold, he gave you props, but we found this quote in The Hill. It's really simple, says a Democratic strategist. Be the effing president. I said, whoa, how about that? And then there's this, too. I believe he thinks he's the only one who can beat Trump. I don't think he thinks there's anyone in the Democratic Party who can beat Trump, and that's the biggest factor. Harold, how do you see it?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. And Mark is showing that he's a good speechwriter. That was a nice way to ensure I don't say anything bad about Mark, who's my pal. I'd say this. I do think that there's some credibility to the notion that the president's got to shift here and pivot. I mean, numbers don't lie. And if you're going to believe in numbers, when you're ahead, you have to take account when they say you're not, that you're behind or that you're not ahead. I think inflation, as we pointed out, crime, the border, I think there are things the president can try to get his arms around and show that that he is indeed the president. I won't use the word I think that strategist might have been using, but I think people want to see a different kind of leadership from him. And we shouldn't kid ourselves. This happens with presidents. This president has the lowest rating, as Mark aptly and rightly pointed out. But Reagan, Clinton, Obama, Clinton all had difficult numbers in their first 2 years in office and were able to turn it around and get to be reelected. The question now for President Biden, more so than it was, I think, for those three presidents, can he reassure an unsettled Democratic intelligentsia and electorate that he's the right person to lead the party? He's got time to do it. The question is, will he be able to?
Yeah, just to finish the quote, Harold, because you went back to it, there are things you can do to control the public perception, and they haven't done any of that. And I think you agree with that based on that comment. On the Republican side, Don Bacon was on the Sunday show, Mark. Now, he represents a district in Nebraska. I think it was recently redrawn. It's Omaha and then parts west, so that extends into the suburbs and rural Nebraska. Talking about Donald Trump and moving on. Watch.
We need someone that has conservative policies, but I think we have to acknowledge that the American people don't like name-calling. They like folks who treat people respectfully, and I think that's what cost President Trump in 2020. We should take that as a lesson. Conservative values with optimism, respectful behavior like President Reagan.
Mark, read the tea leaves. How many people in the Republican Party are like Don Bacon now?
So I think the Republicans look at Donald Trump and they say, first of all, they love him. They think that he was a great conservative president. They think that he was treated very unfairly by the media. But you also have to. But they also understand that we have to win this election. That we cannot afford another 4 years of Joe Biden or worse, depending on who might follow him. And so you look at the head-to-head matchup. Joe Biden is the least popular president in American history, in the history of polling. But if you look at the RCP average, Trump is statistically tied with him. How can Trump be statistically tied with the least popular president in American history? history. So I think that's a red flag for Republicans, that if we're going to win this election, we have to pick a nominee who's not going to alienate swing voters, who's going to win those people back over. And the Democrats are setting us up for victory. I mean, we've gone from a Democratic Party where the president said the era of big government is over to a Democratic Party where the president proposed the largest expansion of government spending since World War II. Yeah. Joe Biden says this isn't your grandfather's Republican Party. This isn't your grandfather's Democratic Party. This isn't even your father's or your Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party has gone so far left that they're setting Republicans up for victory, and we can only snatch it away ourselves, Harold, by nominating the wrong person.
I'm almost out of time, but I'm going to give you 15 seconds here, Harold.
Look, I think Mark is trying to put the best light you can on this, that Donald Trump's nominees in these states that he's winning Senate primaries, they're only winning 30 to 35, 36% of the vote, which means that almost 2/3, if not more, of the Republican Party are opposed to what President Trump is putting forward and the candidates he's putting forward. Republicans are going to have a real question to answer. Do you want to win primaries, or do you want to win generals? Now, I can be partisan and say I hope they only want to win primaries, but I think the country's healthier when both parties are able to put forward serious, dynamic, forward-looking answers to problems that we have. We should not kid ourselves also. This compromise they've worked out on guns is a good thing for the country, and I hope both Democrats and Republicans find their way to be able to support it when it comes up for a vote.
Thank you, gentlemen. Nice to have you on. Harold and Mark on a Monday. Thank you, gentlemen.